close your eyes and imagine this. You're sitting at an NFL football game between the LA Chargers and the Miami Dolphins, and there's these two really rigid, mechanical looking people sitting in front of you. You're not quite sure. Could be somebody that's a total hipster. He's kind of bald. She's kind of bald. You never know. And then you realize they're not actually real. They are AI robots that are sitting in the crowd posing as NFL fans as part of a promo for the new film called The Creator in the classic Man Against Machine movie. Okay, how many times are we going to keep making this movie about how robots take over the world and they're mean and evil? I don't know how many times we're going to do it. It's been done a lot of times before. Westworld has completely lost me with its robots. You could go back to Battlestar Galactica and look at the relationship between humans and the cyborgs. Can we call them cyborgs? They weren't cyborgs. They were robots, intelligent robots. Demerzel from Foundation. There are so many examples in Hollywood of robots running amok, doing bad things. And so today we are talking to a roboticist who is a lovely Frenchman who's now living up in the north of Scotland getting his PhD. He's going to talk to us about love, yay, sex, hurrah, and robots. Stay tuned. Hello, you are listening to Tiny Little Victories. I love it when the guest is actually laughing before I finish my intro. Don't you love that? You know it's going to be a good show. Just laugh away back there, Alexander. Just laugh away. This is Jennifer Kite-Powell. I am your host, and this is still Tiny Little Victories. And I am so glad you're back with us today because I have a roboticist with us here on the phone, all the way from Scotland. Say hello to everybody, Alexander.
Hi, everyone. How are you?
Okay, he's also French. I just want to say, so maybe this is like the normal French way to say hello et bonjour. I am so cool. I talk very low. Bonsoir. You're a very jolly person for a French person, though, actually.
But I still have my cigarette and my red wine when I speak.
Of course. I would expect nothing less. And I would expect nothing less, but because you're so amazing, incredible, and just to give everybody a send up for who you actually are and who they're listening to, this is Alexander Colle, and he is a roboticist. He is also an entrepreneur who has started a number of companion robotic companies, and right now he is sitting his little French ass up there in Scotland. It's cold. He's out in a field. He has some red wine, and he has a cigarette maybe because he is getting his PhD in robotics with a focus on aesthetics and robotics, which I think is fascinating. Yes, fascinating because I met you, Alexander, when you were in your other life, which was luxury retail at a very sexy hotel called Hotel Particulier. And I believe we were drinking Chablis in Paris. Am I right? Or am I half remembering this correctly?
We were on the terrace.
See, a terrace.
Yeah, a terrace de l'Hôtel Particulier Montmartre. But we had Condrieu. How dare you mix Chablis?
How dare I mix Chablis with Convieux? I think there was 3 bottles, right? Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, I stopped counting after the third.
Yeah, stop counting. It's very difficult because just to paint a picture for everybody, this Hotel Particulier is they're pretty much very wealthy people's old homes that they can't afford anymore, I guess. And they're turned into these very bespoke experiential hotels with like 6 rooms or so, private, like a bar on the terrace. And you were responsible for managing that and turning that into the delicate little beautiful slice of heaven that it was up there on the hilltop overlooking Paris.
Oh yeah, that was such a good experience. So we took it over with the actual director, and then we had fun making this the place it is right now. Yeah. And by the way, it used to be owned by Thomas Bangalter from Daft Punk, just as a side story.
What? No way. The Daft Punk guy used to own that?
Yeah, the robot with the golden.
Yeah, I know Daft Punk. Yeah. So wait, but he owned the house after the original owners, then, right?
Yeah. After it was bought by my partners at the time. After. So
okay. Yeah, so I think it's interesting that you obviously have a background in luxury retail and you've always been very focused on aesthetics and design. And then, but when we had met over these 3 bottles of Coviev, um, you were really into robotics at that time and you were very, very insistent that they should be better, they should look better, and they should have a much better purpose between humans and how they interacted with them. And this is how you began your path down this robotics journey that you're on. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. It was a bit of a naive approach, but I think sometimes it's good to be naive. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
I agree.
yeah, like, oh, and I was seeing these wonderful technologies, and I think one video made me like maybe change my mind. It was Barack Obama was in Japan, and he went to Honda to have a
Mm.
showcase of a robot, and the
Yeah, they
video
come out and
is
do their little dance. They come out and do their
yeah.
little Honda dance. Yeah.
You had Asimo, I think it's called Asimo, and you had like this kind of a chair, carrying a person,
Yeah.
and Obama was like looking at this and the amazing tech, but the display was so bad and video was crap, and then like I was like, how can you show something like so cool, like that? And because I come from fashion, I used to work
Yeah.
for Versace as well, and then we make like a half a thought, and then we make it so nice, like people will buy it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like this sense of product was really missing. This sense of like
Hmm.
identity, branding, all these things, and I was puzzled because I love robotics
Yeah.
since I'm a kid.
Right. So you don't with your your fashion background, Versace and all these other brands, that made big sense to you that you would see something like this and see like the opportunity to be able to why are we making these things so damn ugly, basically. And you know, I love that you had something really beautiful. You said you came with maybe a naive approach, but in a way, it's probably better for ingenuity and to come from something to something because then you can see and you begin to question, right? Like, why are we building this thing? Why are these things so ugly? Like, why is there not some beautiful design? Who says that robotics and design are mutually exclusive?
Yeah, you're right. But I think as well we carry culture as a baggage. Even in design, like everybody's talking about the 10 principle of design from Dieter Rams, for example. And some people now start to criticize that. And this is like, the foundation of all the phones and the computers you have mostly in your home
Mm-hmm.
come from Braun and then like this school of design. The same thing in robotics. I think robotics and tech in general is really influenced by sci-fi. Look at
Yeah.
all how
Yeah.
many
Oh,
tech.
100%. 100%.
Do you see like
Um,
people talk about Josie the robot and like Terminator?
yeah.
That's all. It's one or the other.
Terminator. Yeah. Well, speaking of robots influenced by Hollywood, I love that you said that because I know that you recently did a lecture on the movie Her, and your lecture was on Can We Love a Machine? And that movie came out in 2013, which 10 years ago. It's
Oh
been
yeah.
in the news a lot lately, but I think it's really interesting that you were talking about how Hollywood sort of informs a lot of our perception of robots, and you just did this lecture on Can We Love a Machine? And so by what was the point you wanted to get across to people in the lecture about Can We Love a Machine? Because in that movie, it really wasn't a physical robot; it was the AI voice. But I do think that's part of robots, whether or not they sound or feel. Well, actually, to your point, can we love a machine?
Yeah, I think there's 2 points in that because I think a lot of people were surprised by the sudden rise of AI. So that I think this last year was like this big slap in people's face, uh, and
Mm-hmm.
from ChatGPT and also on. So now you start to see from language models and from agent chatbots, like it's very convincing device, and which is her is about. It's like it's a chatbot, very advanced chatbot with the voice, with one of the most amazing voice in the cinema as well. Uh, to at the end to fall in love with a machine, and the perception of it in this movie is to me a little bit it's so I, sorry, let me start again. So it's very 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 it was very visionary because he saw something there, and then now we see it happening. But I think
Well,
what
I
is
mean, I think it was visionary. That was 10 years ago. And to your point of how AI is, people just woke up and now all of a sudden we're completely obsessed with AI.
yeah,
And we've got a whole bunch of white guys, white tech guys going to the White House here in America talking about, yes, AI should be safe, but like there's all this huge race to run towards AI. And Spike Jones made this movie 10 years ago when we were, I feel like we were, it was not in the cocktail conversation at that point in time, like at least not, regular
but
cocktail conversation at that time.
yeah, but
And now it's,
they didn't
go
show
ahead.
the risk. I think they show the risk
Yeah.
of falling in love and being heartbroken, and this is something that happen all the time. But the real risk would be, yeah,
Yeah.
this
That
is that
happens all the time. You and I
all
both know that very, very well. Um,
every day in our life.
every day we fall in love and get our hearts broken.
Yeah,
It's interesting though that yes, you are romantic though. I love that about you. I am too. So I'm happy to fall in love and get my heart broken. Um, but the point of, I think one of the tangentially related is I think Spike Jones made this about his ex-wife, this movie, about falling in love and getting your heart broken. So he was able to decide to use this robotics and AI as a way to tell that story, which of course
Mhm.
then changes the way people relate to AI. I mean, I think because we don't know enough and humans are so naive, right? We believe everything just about that. I think that's why it was such a poignant movie, right? It really made you think, can you really love a machine?
Yeah, and so I think what's missing as well is the embodiment of it, because to
Yeah,
tomorrow to
yeah.
reach to a like a seriously, like in Westworld, for example, like this really convincing robots which are almost flesh,
Mm.
like, and
Hmm.
then in Westworld I was the story went crazy to the point where I was like, okay,
Oh
like
yeah.
Westworld just lost its track. But
Oh,
like
I can't follow it anymore. And I'm pretty smart. I was like, what the F is happening here? Like, I don't even,
what's
too much
happening?
for me. And,
Just
do you remember longer than 2013, maybe 2007, there was a reboot of a show called Battlestar Galactica.
Oh yes.
And it,
Oh, we talked
and
about it at the time. Yeah, I remember. Yes.
remember we talked about it.
Yes.
And to me, that is the best still to this day. And I'm sorry that people don't talk about it more. And I'm sorry that they don't put this thing high on the ranks because it was the best way that they began to look at the human robot interaction, the synthesis between the two species. I'm going to say species here. I just said it. Whoop, whoop. But I love the way that show portrayed can you love can you love a cyborg or a robot, which they called toasters because they were machines. But the derogatory nature, which we do in human nature, right? We don't like another species, we don't like another culture. We tend to be so derogatory and hateful. And I think that film really showed like can you fall in love with a machine, right?
Yeah.
What makes
It.
what makes something real? What makes something feel like it's real?
But I think between a very convincing humanoid robot and to me as well, there's going to be massive issue from that. One thing, remember, like the uncanny valley, which is it's not a theory. It's like it's a good educated guess on the white paper.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh my God. Yes. I'm so glad you said that because it makes me crazy when all those clowns talk about them. Like they're just guessing. They don't know.
yeah. You have some studies coming up recently, like showing more, like some correlation towards, but the curve anyway. So, but one thing is clear is like the more a robot looks like a human, because like the argument is like the more it looks like a human, the more we're going to interact with it positively, or the more we're going to, because it mimic our social norms, we are going to follow that robot blindly. But I think it's not true.
Yeah.
People are, because people don't follow people blindly.
That's so
um
this is the thing. Like we
we do.
are our own human flaws. Like we don't
Yep.
follow other people blindly. Why would a robot follow some? Why would we blindly follow? I can't make a sentence. I'm getting so worked up. I'm getting so hyper over this right now because you're right. You're right. We are just full of conflict humans, which is frightens
Yeah.
me about the future. And just can I also jump in and say, since we're on the subject of you doing your lecture and then you bringing up Westworld, which blows my mind constantly, can we just talk about Demerzel, the intelligent robot in the Foundation, which was written by Isaac Asimov? Have you seen this?
Oh, I read it. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I didn't read it. I saw it. Now I'm going to go backwards and read it. But she is blowing my mind right now, right? This super intelligent, loyal robot that's been here for thousands and thousands of years that many people don't even know. But she has this inane ability to like connect to people, to kill people, to
Follow the
motivate
plan.
people. Yeah. But to
Yeah.
follow the fucking plan, right? Like
To follow the
she
plan.
gonna have to put explicit lyrics on this one. To follow the
Yeah.
plan. And I think to your point earlier about like would we blindly follow a robot? Would a robot blindly follow its own ideas for what it needs to do? Is I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if we have anything to be afraid of except for ourselves.
Yeah, I think so because I mean, you have as well. What's so again, a robot. They are. That's my favorite catchphrase. My friend Camilla would say so.
What's your favorite
So
catchphrase?
it's robots are the embodiment of AI.
Mm.
So they're not work that a robot without control, without vision, without like a controller, like something computing all these parameters. A robot is just like a bunch of hardware assembled together, and that's it. So
Mm-hmm.
what's make it right now like mobile? What makes it like in the future maybe lovable, or maybe it's gonna be the AI is going to power it.
Yeah.
So you have as a uh, uh, what is going to drive all these sensors? What is going to drive all this information? And this is what was going to make the robot as they will be. The shape, I think, doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
But in a way,
Yeah,
the shape,
I think that's probably true.
because I mean, okay, you're going to have, of course, the shape matters because my work is robotic and aesthetics. But I think uh, this is why I'm sure a toaster, for example, like remember in Ghostbuster, like
Yeah.
they put the slime in the toaster, it start dancing.
Yeah. And then it
Um,
became more alive.
yeah, it became more alive, and I think they try to have sex with it, and
Yeah.
why not?
Sex is always plays a role in everything.
Yeah, with a toaster
The toaster.
and
But I
slime.
mean, also they use that same line in Battlestar Galactica with Caprica. Like, how could you have sex with a toaster when this guy was already madly in love with her? You know, it's like he didn't see her as a toaster; he saw her as like somebody he loved. Of course,
Yeah,
she looked smoking hot, but
exactly. Yeah, this is like
But that's the
really
thing, right?
key.
Too, they're so smoking hot. They're all these babe robots in the future are like huge boobs, like perfect little Barbie bodies. They're gorgeous. They're absolutely gorgeous. Like who wouldn't?
Because again, I think we anthropomorphize everything, and like
Totally, 100%.
they maybe like and the aesthetics from 2000 and the aesthetics from 1950, maybe even for human will change. Who knows what we're going to like? There is
Yeah.
like
Yes. Exactly.
sexuality is evolved. What who knows who are going to like? I think it was Rick and Morty, like and especially I think Rick, he has he likes to have sex with all sorts of creatures or even so what if because this attraction we're gathering right now are we just attract so in one hand in her we're attracted to a soul, we're attracted some uh there's that there's one scene,
Characteristic.
yeah, characteristic, there's one scene of that where they have a coitus, I think, um but the rest is much more platonic, right?
Yeah.
And on the other hand, like a physicality in a robot, and then what you're looking for as a partner, there could be that could be to exert like some sexual activities, let's say, in the
Yeah.
machine.
Yeah.
So what if, but as well, what in terms of shape, what in terms of like acceptance of I think this is the spectrum is quite large, and at the same
Yeah.
thing, not just for sex, but I think for our everyday interaction, what we're looking for in a machine or in sentience, or at the end to get a bond, is what we
Hmm.
call the affective loop.
The
And the
affective loop.
affective
Okay.
affective loop is like an animal, a dog, anything which a tiny fish action. So you have this acknowledgement of your
Mm.
action towards like like an animal or something, and then it will give you a feedback, like a movement
And a
or
feedback loop.
yeah, feedback loop.
There's a really good song called I
Feedback loop.
remember who writes it. Grizzly, I think. Yeah, feedback loop. Uh,
Really?
we'll find that up for the. Is it Grizzly? No, it's a great song. It's like it says something like that quirky little feedback loop, which I think. Okay, I'm being very pop culture-y today. You're talking
Okay.
about an effective loop, a feedback loop. You are 100% talking about very human connective type behavior. An effective loop can happen between like me and my dog, my beagle Gigi. You and I have known each other for many years. There's an effective loop there. Like, what do you have? What kind of relationship do you have with this person that keeps giving you feedback that you want to keep having a relationship with this person, or you like them, whether or not it's sexual, platonic, intellectual, educational? And I think the feedback loops that you people, you roboticist people, are working to put into these next generation of robotics, whether or not this the soft robotics, which we haven't even gotten into yet, which I want to get into, is really all about, are you how much of yourself are you putting into those effective loops, that learning behavior, which is why Westworld is so troubling. Like it wouldn't surprise me if what is happening in Westworld with how they think, they have some serious feedback loops.
Yeah, I think, but
And I know it's
Westworld.
not real, but I mean, somebody's working on that.
Yeah, no, I'm sure, but you have what's his name? The main engineer, which is actually the robot. He
Oh, I
works
can't
on
think of his name. The guy, yeah, he didn't
guy with
know
the
he didn't
glasses.
know he was a robot.
Yeah, the Decker Renard, I think it's in the Westworld. Anyway, he's working on. He has this little tablet, and he's have the cognitive architecture. Actually, what I can see is the cognitive architecture, and they implement like these stories, and then they have the behavior, and then they have to obey to these like loop stories, and then react towards like in a meaningful way. um, I think this is going to be possible to program. This is pure program, which I really like. After like developing a human, it's why I don't get in this movie. I don't get it, but like developing like a real human.
In Westworld?
Yeah, in Westworld, or even another one like a psyche, like oh, I'm gonna get revenge. I'm gonna
Yeah.
get this and that.
Well,
If
there's
you feel,
definitely some themes that run through these movies: sex exploitation, take advantage of disadvantaged peoples, revenge, vengeance. Like there's some very you look at all of them, they're kind of at the same theme. Like, is that all we're made of as humans? I guess so.
yeah, but
Okay,
it's
but you want to talk about perfectly created robots, how they look, or whatever we're calling them in Westworld. Let's take a headline, pluck it out of the sky, and discuss it here. Here's one from literally 2 days ago. AI robots infiltrated an NFL game with a secret mission. So there are these robots that are sitting at a LA Chargers and Miami Dolphins game on Sunday, this past Sunday, and they were just sitting in the crowd with jerseys on and headphones on, and they kind of look real. But
like
you said
yeah.
they look like mechanics. They're not very attractive robots, but do they need to be? Like, number one. Number two, they're actually there to promote a sci-fi movie called The Creator, which is this new man against machine again. So here we go. Write down these scary AI robots sitting at a LA Chargers game, freaking people out.
Yeah,
But
and they
first of
have
all, they're
giant
not
headphones.
pretty robots. You think if they were sexy with blonde hair, people would have been freaking out? Because these guys look a little scary.
Okay, they're all bald, so that I can relate. Uh, they have like these big headphones, and then they look like yeah, mechanics
Yeah, they look like
stuff.
headphones. Yeah.
And I guess okay, do you have the technology to make this thing work? Do you need to have these big things sticking out on the side? I think this is like the art direction, and they have to follow something which like kind of
Yeah,
can be
yeah, of course. But it feeds into the hysteria because we're stupid, right? This is what they're going to look like. The next thing you know, there's Facebook pages about real robots taking over the place.
Yeah, but and the trouble with that is like, okay, we're going to be scared about humanoid robot, where the one leading the charge are the discrete one, the
That's
drones.
so true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the drones attacking the robots on tracks now are like mounted with cannons in Warfield. Uh, the one the one in the MARV, or have you heard,
Oh
like
yeah.
all these, they have many robots now patrolling in the ocean, like
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And there is a robot patrolling parking lots at malls by Nightscope, where it looks like a cone-shaped robot, like a Dalek or something, and it doesn't move very fast, like up to 2 miles per hour. And it has like you can push a button on if there's an emergency, but I'm pretty sure that thing isn't going to be chasing, running down like criminals stealing from the Gap. You
the
know, like
cone.
and it, but here's the thing, like it's a cone shaped robot. It's supposed to not make you feel threatened, right? Because it kind of doesn't have a face. It looks like a cone in the street but a little rounded on top, so they made it not to look threatening.
Yeah, and
That's a
it's funny.
paradox to
I have a
me.
story about this cone, it's a robot, and there was an article on a magazine, because okay, we talked about
A story
anthropomorphism.
about a robot cone or
Yeah,
these
robot cone.
robots?
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Oh,
think you
okay.
mentioned
Okay.
that specific robot, and because it's Nightscope, right? The brand,
Yes.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so anthropomorphism, like all we talk about, like feedback loop, and the rules of anthropomorphism is when you see something which you can't apprehend, you don't understand, you try to befriend it, you start to socialize with it, you start as well, you try to understand what will be its next move. Now, this is something which is ingrained in us since we are primates in the savannah. And
Mm-hmm.
when you see, so this is why we create all these stories about things moves, because like this is the foundation of religions as well. Like, oh, there's a cloud in the sky looking like a
Very true.
face. That means the crops will be shit or something like that. And so you have
It's okay. We're
right.
going to put an explicit rating on this podcast today, so it's fine.
Sorry.
No,
Oh
go
yeah.
for it. You don't have to
I've
reel
been
it in
watching.
at all. You don't have to reel
Merde.
it in at
I
all.
can
We're going to
swear in
put
French.
explicit. Yeah. Swear in French for us. We love that.
So you have this merde robot. Sorry. So you have this robot, which, as you say, like is non-threatening, is doing his job around. But there was in the mall, there was a fountain, and I guess the path planning didn't work correctly, and then robot fell, ended up in a fountain. And
Oh, tripped into the fountain. Uh-oh. What was the
fountain.
headline?
The headline from this newspaper was like, "Robot commit suicide in the mall."
Oh, oh
Yeehaw.
my
Yes.
God.
Yeah.
So you're I can't pronounce that word. Anthropomorphize everything. So we put a human comedy, a human trait on a machine because something went wrong in the software. We say it committed suicide.
Yeah.
We are so stupid.
Yeah, but I think I can't blame us
Why
because we
not?
do.
I think we should blame us. Why can't we
Because
blame us?
a dog, for example, like they grew eyebrows because in
Yeah.
relation with human, to understand, to have more emotional in their facial traits, to get more treat. So I think there's and they will react to that, and then like attribute, and of
Mm.
course they're social animals, but like we attribute a lot to dogs which maybe they don't have, and so this is part of anthropomorphism as well, or like
Yeah.
um, I think this is our nature, and sometimes nature
Yeah.
doesn't have. If you know that, that helps you as well. How people will perceive robot, and then that should give as well guidelines on what we should be maybe be careful of how we create the machine in the future. Because on one
Yeah.
hand, I'm very scared about this new chatbot. We can be Some people will be
Oh, yeah.
completely under their spell, completely. Loneliness is an epidemic. Loneliness is a catastrophe in the UK, not only for
Yeah.
older people but even like young people. So imagine that. And second, like you have this physical attribute, right? You have a physical embodiment of it. What's going to happen? I think death will not come from 1984. Will come from mostly A Brave New World from Aldous Huxley.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And actually, I'm glad you said. I think we've discussed this before. Like Alexander Huxley has it right. It will definitely come from A Brave New World, not 1984. We've proven that we are more in the Brave New World. Take a pill, sit back, let this flow through you and over you, and not resist. Like I think that we're more in that camp than we ever in the 1984 camp, for sure.
Yeah, even if you see some shadow figures now, like patronistic figures coming up in the world, like democracy maybe is at threat, but I think that what's happening with the whole the attention economy, Tristan Harris, like what they warn us about is a real threat, and is damaging like lives of everybody, and then especially the young
I
generation.
agree. I agree. I wrote an article in Forbes recently about Google's new synth, Google Synth, which was going to be able to hopefully detect more fake images, deep fakes out there. And I really enjoyed writing the story. I talked to like 6 different sources from all over, but basically 6 different people, 6 different backgrounds said, the problem is that there's always going to be people that will use things for not good,
Yeah.
But one of the things I thought was interesting, and one of the facts that I dug up was that there have been more images created since the AI came on the scene that have been created in all of the past 150 years.
Oh my god.
That in the first 3 months of I didn't get this stat right, so I want to make sure I get this stat totally right. But before I start blapping off about what everything is, but yes, in Adobe in August of this year, just last month, shared some stats on the number of AI generated images that had been created when Adobe Firefly came out. And they launched Adobe Firefly in March of 2023. And for all of you who don't know, Adobe Firefly is a way to create AI images. Anyway, in 3 months, there were 1 billion images that had been created just on Adobe Firefly AI images, just on Adobe.
Oh my god.
So the idea that we are producing so many fake images, fake information, AI is growing so fast, your point about it just blew out of nowhere. We can't even keep up with it in terms of how we're going to identify it, because they also had a poll from the Pew Research study that found that 61% of all the Americans polled in the study said that it was too much to ask of the American people to be able to recognize an altered video and image. Too much to ask. That we would have to effing sit down and think if this image wasn't real. Because I think we're so used to trusting the fact that what we see in the news, or used to see in the news, things were real. And it's been proven to us that that is not the case. But this 61% number is what's alarming to me. Like we think it's too much. Please, we don't have to deal with that.
Yeah, but I think sometimes you just need one person. You just need is the one person who's going to maybe change the faith or the face of the world of the this famous story of this. I think it was a Russian officer like who refused to approve the launch code for a nuclear attack, right? The one out of 3, this guy said no. Let's wait a little bit, and then because of him,
let's wait a little bit.
a little bit. And imagine, let's say you have the same thing here. So I think information is key. You're right. There used to be this old. I will quote the Bible. I think Saint Thomas was like this famous thing. I believe only what I see. I'm not a religious person, but like my mom always said that to me. And right now you can manipulate so easily everything you see.
Yeah.
So what do you
Yeah.
believe in?
So you can manipulate things. So here's also taken straight from the headlines, is that somebody's obituary had been altered by AI. A former NBA's player obituary was sort of completely altered, and that's now his official obituary, and they can't get it unchanged. like that's sort of like misinformation becoming record and fact and history because it's now inside of this data set stream, right?
Maybe
Like
the
you've
paper will
got
come back.
everything from federal judges ruling that AI generated art can't be copyrighted. Like it's literally a Pandora's box. It just keeps going and going and going. There's no, who's going to be our superhero that's going to pull it back?
I'm not sure if I pull back. I think it's impossible, and
Yeah.
right now, or um, uh, regulatory bodies like I think strong politicians and like strong action.
There
I
are no
think
strong
they need.
politicians. There are no strong. We don't have any. Do you have any? We don't have
Uh,
none. We got none.
yeah, I guess so.
We're trusting Elon Musk right now to decide what's good for the country and where satellites need to go. So I think that'll tell you how lost we are.
Oh yeah, my God. No, it. So I think.
You're like, oh, that's so
Oh my
French.
God,
Oh
I'm
my
turning
God.
my head. I need my cigarettes and my red wine.
Yes, you need a cigarette and a glass of wine.
Very quickly. Uh, but I think so. Imagine, so that's the layer. This is let's say the conscious layer, or unconscious layer, maybe you can say, of what the robot will think and see, and act upon, because they will.
Yeah.
Robotics is this all. They embody the world, and what they will
Yeah.
bring, which people as well sometimes forget, is like a very real time and accurate representation of the world. Because when you have like what's machine learning feeds on what? It feeds on data. And
Yeah.
until we optimize, I think they're working on it, but like until we optimize the machine learning process, it's still very, very, very hungry for data right now. And then they need this
Yeah.
massive,
It's hungry for data. I love that you, again, put that into a term that a human can relate to. And I think I want to ask you one last question before we end this awesome podcast. But I love that you said this brings a real time, an accurate representation of the world because of all the data that's going in here. And I really don't think that the people regulating AI, one, is going to work. And number two, I don't like the idea that we only have white 1% tech billionaires at the table all of a sudden raising their hand saying, hey, yeah, we should totally have it regulated and let us show you how. Because these guys are all stock forward focused companies. I don't think any of these guys would even save their mother if the ship was sinking, let alone humanity. So I don't really, I have a lot of fear around what's happening because I think that, like you said, like we are painting an accurate picture right now. And this is what robots are going to be using, what AI is going to be using to turn these things into whatever they're going to be turned into. And, I'm very tech forward and I love the future. And as you know, I love robots, but this whole trip has really scared me a little bit about where we're going to go in 5 to 10 years. So that's the question that I want to ask of you as we leave is, what do you think, what do you want to see in the next 5 years in the terms of the evolution of robotics, whether or not that's in soft robotics or that's in the human robot interaction? What is it that you, Alexander Colle, would love to see happen?
I think a more inclusive.
Take a puff off the cigarette, have a glass of wine, then answer the question.
Bon.
There you go. C'est bon.
I think, a more inclusive robotics, a more sustainable robotics, a more maybe as well conscious, like human-centered robotics. Which we don't. I think we think we do it, but we don't really doing it right now. But unless we need to have systemic change as well for robotics, which I won't see happening yet. It will, from the dance of now the way we manufacture things. Because how can you manufacture? How can you make? Sorry. The brain cognition evolves very quickly. Hardware to make it, to modify it, is very hard.
Yeah.
Because you need to have supply chain, blah blah blah. So I think now we reach a stage where we are going to see a machine making machines, and this, in one hand,
interesting.
Like a 3D printing, design.
Oh, that's true.
Manufacturing, design for assembly, design for X, basically. All these principles are helping building better, faster, more sustainably, and then less relying on like this massive, large supply chain. One major problem I can see, although, is the access for all the firmware, like all the computers, sorry, chips. The chip shortage is very scary. And you see how now it's become strategic. It used to be petrol was, it still is, but
But
now
now it's
chips,
chips. Yeah, it's so true. That's so
chips
true.
and data. So you have data on one hand, but like who's making these data do something is the chips. NVIDIA, like
That's so
everybody's.
true. We forget the regular people don't think about those things. Like I don't even think half the people know there's a chip in their phone. Like nobody
Yeah,
gets it, right? Just don't understand this teeny tiny, also little tiny thing that's made up of so many valuable particles and minerals. It's like, it's so critical.
yeah, and I'm glad. So I'm kind of participating right now. I'm working with an American company right now called Crow Industry, and then this is
Mm-hmm.
really what they're looking for, because chip, exactly as you say, before the chips, you have like all these minerals, critical minerals, and
Yes.
access to that. And so we were talking about it the other day. So you have like in Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
you will dig cobalt, or you will not cobalt, you will copper. You will to China. China will
Yeah.
extract 20 different things out of it to go in 20 different, 50 different applications, and it will go back to the US with a price tag. And then like something which is made in the US actually losing most of the value somewhere else.
We're all talking about foundational and fundamental technology in order for all of this stuff to happen, which to me is in the shadows, right?
Yeah,
Like what you just talked about is super shadowy.
it is. And I think so. As part of this is why robots, they're part of this whole supply chain right now. Of this whole we need to be very aware of that to push progress in a
Mm.
direction where we can not only have the control of data, I think national control of data, because nations should control, I think, what's happening, much tighter regulations, why regulation is there. But as well, like sovereignty in manufacturing, sovereignty in accessibility to critical mineral, or like, because this will be the next oil.
Mm.
And the US, I think, is very well equipped. Lithium, you have lithium, you have copper, you have like I think lots of minerals you can use technology to create now chips, to put these chips back into machine, to have this machine like locally, and as well. And if we want them to be infiltrated for our benefit in our homes, we should make them with people. And then we need,
Yeah.
this is why
Yeah.
design, co-design,
Yeah.
human-centric design will help
Yeah.
make better, more efficient, more accepted, and more like useful machines, and not just
Yeah.
making like product for the sake of it. And this is
Yeah.
what I
I don't
really
think people know what they want. Like, what does the regular Joe consumer want to buy?
don't know what they want to buy, but we can know what they need. We can understand the needs of users. And this is the whole work of talented designer like me and my team. Ha!
I love that. Yeah, like me. Yeah, exactly.
Like me, I should thank me. Like Snoop
You
Dogg,
should thank yourself.
I should thank
Actually, you should
myself.
thank yourself. Let's give you a big round of applause for all the stuff you've done. Good job. Thank
But
you.
I
Thank
say,
you for
yeah,
doing this for us.
myself and the team, like people working with me, and
Yeah.
like because I'm not alone. I have my
Yeah.
business partners and fantastic talented people. But like it, but as well, this is that's the goal, and how to make these machines, I think, more inclusive. Imagining like when you work with older folks, there's a dramatic. When I can't hide the dramatic. I should be more French. C'est trop dramatique.
Drum. There you
Um,
go. Perfect.
Problem coming in the future, where, for example, for older adults, we don't have enough care workers to take
Yes,
care of elders.
I think again, this comes back to you and I have talked about this before, and just for everybody listening out there, we're talking about like there's not enough people to go into homes or to help people who are living alone, senior citizens, or people that need care or
Yeah,
companionship. So, I think about a use case, and I think, well, maybe that's a good use case versus another news headline which just happened 21 hours ago, which is some software drink company appointed an AI robot as an experimental CEO. So to me, we're just full of folly. It's like, what is a real world problem we can solve? Loneliness? Can we solve the fact that we have no care workers to people that can still live in their own homes but don't have enough people to come in? Like, is that telerobotics? But the fact that we like thinking, yeah, let's get an AI robot to be an experimental CEO. I mean, honestly, these CEOs today can't run companies worth shit. So maybe this experimental CEO, would do a lot better than half the clowns out there right now. I would like to know. But to me, we're just folly. It's just folly, which is why I love the people behind the scenes like you and your team and other people that are really looking at these bigger problems, these bigger issues to solve, human-centric robotics, soft robotics, things that we can apply that affect someone's life. Because an experimental CEO is just going to really not go well. Like having fans sit in the seat with like seeing like robots that they think are actually real and not a promo for a movie and have them freaking out on Facebook, it's not going to go well in the end.
Maybe you have like a lack of. This is all about the shortage of worker, right? And the mall cop, potentially, maybe someone can do a better job, but can they? And we need to have the right question about society, like what people should do for their work. Erase this kind of worm as well, like universal income. If less people are working, take job replaced by robot, which is irony right now. It's like this is not the blue collar, this is the white collars getting replaced by AI, like the lawyers and then the accountant and then the business analyst and so on and so forth. This is like I think a waiter at Applebee's will have more chance to keep their work like as an accountant in the next 5 years. And again, robotics, like we throw this. It's going to be for me my fear is going to be like the immigrant rhetoric for the 2030s years, right? It's like, oh, robots steal your job. Let's kill them.
We keep depicting how robots will be, but yet we're not living that robot we're still using them as gimmicks, like experimental CEO or NFL fan. And I wonder if you could just leave us with one thing that you've created in your life with robots that you want to tell the world about. Short, one thing. What have you created? Have you created anything for us? Besides a shoe?
A shoe robot. A shoe robot. No, I created a pillow robot.
Oh, okay, a pillow robot. I love that.
And the goal was to make something which can blend in a beautiful environment, interior design, like the hotel.
Yeah. Okay.
Beautiful pillow, and while it becomes alive, while it becomes like, so it keeps its softness, but it becomes a companion as well. So
I love that. I love there's a guy in the Netherlands that created a breathing pillow.
Yeah.
So that it was helping people that couldn't sleep. And so what it would do is it would mimic the natural breathing rhythms of the human body. And then you would hold it and it breathes and then you begin to breathe with it. And then you go to sleep. It's fucking amazing.
Oh, yeah. Through using like new technologies, which are on actuation, on construction. So we're making like a real living and breathing pillow. And
I love it. A real living, breathing pillow. Okay, you heard it here first, folks. A real, beautiful, living, breathing pillow. I love that. What's called Ma? Oh, it's called what?
Ma.
That's very soothing.
Yeah.
Ma. Okay. When can we see this Ma?
Soon. We are starting deliveries now to the National Museum to only as a research platform for now. And,
okay. Well, if you could give us some notes, we'll put it in. I mean, you could tell me later after this podcast. I'll put it in the notes because I think it's very interesting. This soft, beautiful luxury pillow called Ma.
You want to hear it?
What, the pillow?
Yeah. Listen.
Sure. I mean, if we can.
Can you hear it?
I hear it, but that sounds like a little gremlin.
Yeah, when he's scared, it's like that.
Okay, I'm not. Oh, he's scared now. He doesn't want to be on the podcast because actually that doesn't sound very soothing to me.
That was like, it's a scared ma.
Okay, this is a scared mom. Probably not a good example of a soothing pillow.
Yeah, in the middle of the night is a fright.
Well, we'll put all this in the notes for everybody. And Alexander, thank you for calling in so late in Scotland. We know it's cold and dark up there, but we're so happy to have you and hear your voice and your thoughts on robots in the future. Thank you.
Love you. Thank you so much. Talking to you is about
Season 3, off to a rip-roaring start with Alexander Colle, our local roboticist. Actually, he's not so local, is he? Depending on where he is our local roboticist, and I love that. So if you have any questions for Alexander, you can actually put them in your comment section on this Spotify podcast app. I think that's pretty amazing. So I'd love to hear from you if you have any questions. I know he'll answer them for you. We put everything in the notes that you need to know. So I just want to let you know that on the next episode of Tiny Little Victories, we are mixing it up a lot. Think of ice cubes in a container with gin, little like spritz of vermouth, shake, shake. We're mixing it up, and it's a little bit off format for us. But hey, does that keep you excited? Does it keep you engaged? It would keep me engaged. You just never know what you're going to get, which I love. And on that note, thank you for sharing, commenting, and rating Tiny Little Victories on Spotify and the other apps that you're on. And just a reminder for you Apple people, we are on Apple Podcasts. So if you just get all your podcast stuff there, you can go there, type in Tiny Little Victories, and poof, there we are. It's amazing. You guys have a great rest of your September, and we'll see you on the flippy flip on Tiny Little Victories.